Hi, welcome to another edition of the Alan Rosenberg Show. Quick movie review. So I literally just came back. Me and my wife went to see this movie called NIX. Don't be afraid, it's nothing. From the director of Sharknado, Anthony Ferrante did it. Now I am not a fan at all of Sharknado. I understand the kitsch, is that the word? Kitsch appeal of Sharknado, but I'm a horror movie guy. That movie is just way too ridiculous for me. So anyway, I love going to the movies, me and my wife, and besides being a classic rock guy my whole life, the other big passion is horror movies. I try to see like most horror movies. And there's nothing out there playing that appeals to me. I went on Rotten Tomatoes and I saw this movie NIX is playing at my local theater here on Long Island. It plays once a day for a week and then it's gone. So I went there and spoke to the owner of the theater, who we've gotten to know because we're regulars there. Here's the movie again, NIX. And I thanked her for playing this movie because it's the only theater playing this particular movie. It's on Rotten Tomatoes, but there's no review. I haven't seen any reviews anywhere else on this movie. I don't even know what the plot is, but it's a horror movie. It looks interesting. I saw the trailer, and we go. And she says, well, her friend knows the guy who made it, and they can't get it distributed in any theaters. And as a favor, she agreed to play it once a day for a week. And I said, well, how's it going? Has it got any traction? And she goes, no, I can guarantee you'll be the only two people in the theater. And she was right. We were the only two people in the theater. It was a 5:15 movie on Long Island. She goes, nobody's going to see it. So it's kind of like the state of the movies out there, which I'll talk about after. But so what is NIX about? Kind of an interesting concept. I liked it. My wife, who's less of a horror movie fan, but she's great. She goes to see all these movies with me. Reminded me back in the late 70s, David Cronenberg did a movie called The Brood, Brood. And the idea of that movie was people who could go into therapy if they have anger issues and things like that. And through this kind of therapy, they could manifest sores and cyst-like things on their bodies to get rid of the anger. And in that movie, The Brood by David Cronenberg, you could actually give birth to these little creatures that would take your anger away. But of course, they were like mass murdering little people. David Cronenberg, a master of like body horror. Anyway, this movie kind of reminds me of that in a sense. I don't want to do any spoilers, but don't be afraid. It's nothing. It's kind of a monster movie, but it's really a psychological movie. And as you get older like me and you live your life, most of us suffer tragedies and death. And I certainly had my share, and I'm sure most of you out there have as well. And that's why I call all of us walking wounded. But for people who suffer amazing tragedy, like the family in this movie, they just become more than walking wounded. They just become psychologically completely unbalanced, and they could never get through the tragedy that they have. And because of that, it could manifest into a monstrous situation. And that's what happens in this movie. This family becomes completely dysfunctional and manifests with a monster. And is the monster really there? Are they the monster? Do they draw the monster to them? Is the monster committing these further atrocities, or is it them with the influence of the monster? And it's kind of an interesting concept, and I liked it. It's not a long movie. It's well done. It's called NIX. You're not going to be able to see it in the theater, but it will be streaming. I'm not sure on what services. So I give this movie a thumbs up. I do not want to give out any spoilers, but if you want a little bit of a different kind of a movie that's got a good psychological element to it that we can kind of relate to, but then take it further into the horror realm, it's pretty well done. It actually has Dee Wallace in it. Used to be Dee Wallace Stone, now back to Dee Wallace, and of course she's much older. But Dee Wallace was a great actress and appeared in a couple of great horror movies. Of course, she was in Cujo, and she was phenomenal in one of my two all-time favorite werewolf movies. She was in Howling, and she was great in that movie. And nice to see her. She's, of course, much older, not a lot of makeup, and She's still got her acting chops. I think I lost my background. There's the NIX background. My low-budget printout of it. But Dee Wallace, great to see her back. She still acts great. And the movie has one or two plot holes that if you've seen it, maybe down the line you'll comment. But nothing that ruins the movie. Not a little bit of plot holes that little confusion. My wife was a little confused with one element of it as well. But I like the idea of it. I thought it was really pretty well done. So if you like psychological horror, not too many jumps. I wasn't jumping around. I wasn't overly scared. But it's creepy. And, in the horror realm, it takes reality, still in a reality base, which I like. Definitely thumbs up. So check out NIX. It'll be streaming somewhere, and it's definitely worth watching. I had a brief conversation, by the way, part 2 of this video. I had a brief conversation with the owner of the movie when I thanked her for showing this. And she says, well, it was a favor to a friend of a friend, and you're going to be one of only 2 people. You and your wife will be the only ones there. And she was right. And an interesting conversation because apparently one of the other movie chains here in Long Island is going out of business. And I don't feel bad for them because the pricing of going to the movies is ridiculous. And I'm a movie guy. I love going to the movies, and so does my wife. But the idea of paying $16 for a movie, and I'm the kind of person that has to get a large popcorn and a drink, and all of a sudden you bring a family of 4, it's $100 to see a damn movie. And that's just insane when you don't make a lot of money. Even if you do. It's just, I think it's crazy. And that's why they're suffering. So I said, when I was a kid, growing up, you'd have like 2 or 3 different movie chains who owned a lot of theaters, but they always had different movies. They might have had the major blockbuster, all of them. But then if you wanted to see this movie, you'd see it on that chain. And now it's like, you look at Rotten Tomatoes, and I do every week, and what new horror movies or movies come out, and there's a lot. Maybe 20 movies come out every week. But you're lucky if maybe 2 or 3 are playing at a theater. And I'm not a streaming guy. I don't stream. So, you really can't see a lot of these movies, and I want to see them on the big screen anyway. And that's because they can't afford it, the movies. I said, do you still do the sliding scale? I remember back in the olden days, when a movie comes out, the studio gets 90% of the gross of the movie. And then the second week, maybe they get like 80%, and it slides down. So she told me she's still making all the movies in the theater right now on like Top Gun, which I haven't seen, and other movies like that, because now the studio is maybe getting 30%, she's getting 70%. So even though not a ton of people are going to see it, that's where she's making a movie plus popcorn and the rest. And they just can't afford to take the risk of playing a movie like NIX, which is why it's not playing anywhere. She's just doing it as a favor. And as a moviegoer, it's a little bit tough. Because maybe these deep kind of horror movies, they don't get any kind of distribution. But I guess that's just the way it is. So anyway, thanks for tuning in. Alan Rosenberg Show. NIX, thumbs up. And check it out streaming. Thanks for tuning in. I will be doing a music video, a video on a music topic probably tomorrow. I've been working on something, so I want to do it right. And so wait for that. Hopefully tomorrow. I'll be popping that up and doing it. Thanks for tuning in. If you don't subscribe, hit subscribe. And please tell your friends and check out my other videos. And stay safe and healthy. And I'll see you next time.